Want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Hey everybody, it is a new month, and that means it is time for my monthly TBR, or to be read list. But before we get started, we're going to be doing a little contest this month, and every month going forward, to see who can most accurately predict the scores that I rate these books that I'm going to read. I always read the books that I say I'm going to read. Down below in the description and in the sticky comment, I'm going to put a link to a form you can fill out, and I want to see who can get the most right. Whoever gets the most right is going to have their name featured in next month's video. So let's get right down into it. And the first book that I am going to be reading this month is a book that I actually finished today. I didn't have it in my recap because I made my recap the night before, but I finished it early. And this is Warformed Stormreaver is the series, and the book is The Iron Prince, and this is by Bryce O'Connor and 𝐿𝗵𝐿. I read this on Kindle, and it's 850 pages and about 325,000 words, so very large book. And I'm not going to tell you what my predicted ranking is because I already know what it is, because I already read it. But that review is going to be coming out sometime early on this week, and so you just got to stay tuned for that, so I don't want to ruin anything about that. Stay tuned for that review. The next book, and I hate to be a repeat here, is another book that I finished today, early. And this is The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, and this is by Stephen King, of course. I read this one on audiobook, and this was very short though. It was only 224 pages, but it took me forever to read. I went really slow in this one for some reason. I've just been pretty busy and wasn't able to get through it too much. Only 55,000 words, so really short book, and I'm not going to predict the rating or really talk about it. Watch that review in a couple days. Now for the real books that we're going to talk about here, and the first is going to be Secret Project number 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I'm reading this one on Kindle. I got it yesterday, and I predict that I'm going to finish this on April 3rd. It's 384 pages, 90,000 words, and I'm predicting a 3 out of 5. I have not read a lot of this book yet, only 25%, and if you would have asked me what I thought 𝗬𝗓 of the Emerald Sea was going to be, the first Secret Project, I would have said 3 out of 5 at the 25% mark, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5. So who knows what this is going to be, but so far, it's just okay. I mean, right now what I'm feeling like is it's clearly more than a little inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a book that I read a long time ago but don't remember very much. But I went back and read a couple chapters of it just yesterday because I was getting all these vibes, and unfortunately, it's trying to be so like that, but it's not even close to as good. It's just not as funny, and it's clearly trying to be fun, if not outright funny, but I'm not getting any laughs out of it. I very rarely do in Brandon Sanderson books. I love Brandon Sanderson. He's one of my favorite authors, but definitely not one of the funniest authors, although I'm just sad that he keeps trying to be. It's got these really cool vibes to it. It's this, I don't want to ruin anything about the book, but there's this time travel. There's kind of like this Westworld component to it. Fun concept, really fun concept. But I feel like all Brandon Sandersons have a really fun concept. It comes down to execution. Most of the time he executes. Let's see if he can close it out here. The next one on the docket is going to be another new book this month that's just coming out, not even out yet, and it is from the Last Horizon series. It's The Captain. This is by Will Wight. This is a brand new series of his, a sci-fi book. I'm reading this on Kindle. Should finish this up around April 7th. It's going to be 467 pages, 130,000 words, and I'm going to read it to 4 out of 5. I don't know really anything about this book, but I know that I love Will Wight. Cradle specifically is what I've read of his, and I love almost all of those books. Now, I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan. I do love some sci-fi. I mean, I just very recently read, what I declare is the best sci-fi book that I've ever read, and so, I do clearly like some sci-fi. And it's one of the better books that I've ever read in my entire life, and I'll put a link up there above if you want to check that one out. Don't want to ruin anything about that, but yeah. So we'll see. So I'm giving the 4 because I love Will Wight, but I'm hit and miss on sci-fi. So let's see. But the very, very little concept that I've heard intrigued me. So we'll see. Then I will be reading the first of the Drenai saga. This is Legend by David Gemmell. I'm going to be doing this in audiobook form at a recommendation from my viewers. I put a question up recently on the community page on my YouTube and said, what are the best books on audiobook on this big list of books that I'm going to be reading. And I moved a bunch of those over to audio and people recommended them. I kept hearing over and over that this book I really need to read on audio, so I'm going to. This isn't very long. This is only 320 pages, 86,000 words, and I'm predicting a 5 out of 5. I've heard so many times that I need to read this book. By people that know what I'm into, people keep saying, like, if you like this, then you're going to love this. And I have heard more than any other book ever that I have to read this one, and that I'm going to love this one. So I'm trusting my viewers here, but I just have such confidence that I'm going to love this. And I recently reviewed, the most recent time somebody said this was when I reviewed 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City, and they said, look, if you love sieges, why haven't you read Gemmell yet? Why haven't you read this book? And so I bumped it up on my list, and I've been looking forward to reading this for literally years now. So yeah, can't wait to get into it. I'm a little hesitant though, because if I end up really liking it, I'm committing myself for like 20-something books or whatever it is. And I know that's what Josh over at Red Fury Books just went through. He read this book and said, well, my TBR just got, doubled or whatever it was. So yeah, that keeps happening to me, but whatever. It's a great problem to have. Then the next book I'm reading is another brand new book. This is Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. I'm going to be doing this on Kindle. I already have it, although it comes out later on in the month. I should finish this up around April 12th. This is 300 pages, 127,000 words, and I'm predicting that I'm going to only give this a 3 out of 5. I don't love novellas, and I never have. I don't think I've ever given a novella above a 4 out of 5, and I just have this sinking feeling that I'm not going to love this. The very brief things I've read about it worried me. There's no, like, antagonist. That's a problem. It's like this buddy story between an animal and its trainer or something like that. This like giant flying beast. So I'm intrigued. I mean, I love Fonda Lee. I love the Green Boat Saga. It's one of my favorite all-time trilogies. So of course I'm going to read this, but yeah, a little worried. And I've had this book for a long time. I think it's 𝗃 that did this. 𝗃 reached out to me and asked me to review a book, and I said no. But I said, do you possibly have Untethered Sky on hand you could give me? And they said, yeah. So I've had it for a while, but I didn't want to do a review super early on it because then nobody would be tempted to buy it because it wasn't available yet. So I want to help out the author if I can, and hopefully I like it and I can recommend it. Then I'm going to be reading the book that I just picked for my monthly Patreon raffle. Every month, my patrons can put a book or two based on the tier into this giant spin the wheel raffle, and I spin it and see what wins, and I am committing to read it and review it. And the book that won was the books of Raksura, and the book is The Cloud Roads by Martha Wells. Martha Wells, more popularly known as the author of the Murderbot Diaries, a series that I have been hot and cold on. Not consistently. It's not like it's getting colder and colder. I think 2 books ago I loved it. So, but we'll see. This is not a very long book. I'm predicting I'll finish it on April 12th. It's 300 pages, 127,000 words. And I'm going to guess a 3 out of 5. Just because, Martha Wells is hit and miss. I don't love sci-fi. I don't even know if this is sci-fi. The cover looked kind of fantasy, but I don't know. Martha Wells I always view as a sci-fi author, but yeah, we'll see. Then I will be reading The Wounded Kingdom, Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker. Going to be doing this in an audiobook. Finishing up April 15th, 432 pages and 106,000 words. And I'm going to guess a 4 out of 5 on this one. I love R.J. Barker's Time Child trilogy, and I gave all of those a 5 out of 5. Love, love, love those books. So why am I not seeing a 5 out of 5? I find that a lot of times I love a series and I go back and read the first books from that author and it's just not as good. And so I'm hoping that's not the case here. I mean, that just happened with me with Jay Kristoff, is I loved so much Empire of the Vampire, and then I went and read Nevernight, and I don't know that I've read a book recently that I've hated more than that. So that soured me a little bit, just that little tidbit. It's happened more than once. And just the basic premise of this seems very basic, Age of Assassins, clearly an assassin story, and those have been written 5 trillion times. So we'll see what you got, RJ. But even if I don't like it, I'm still all in on R.J. Barker. Then I'll be reading another Patreon pick. Every month I also put a list of 5 books that I'm interested in reading, and there's a vote. And the one that won was from the series Empire of the Wolf. This is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I'm going to be doing this on my Kindle. Should finish it up around April 17th. 432 words for 148,000 pages, and I'm predicting a 5 out of 5. Don't know a lot about this other than I know that it's like a courtroom political fantasy kind of drama. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I love courtroom fantasy type stuff. I mean, one of my favorite video games is what is it? Ace Attorney? That's right. Love all the Ace Attorney games. I love attorney type media. And so I've never read a fantasy book that has this as a basic premise. I mean, there have been courtroom scenes in some of the books that I've read, and I almost always love them. So yeah, I'm excited about this, and I'm really glad that it won. Almost done here. I'm reading a lot of books this month, so bear with me here. I'm going to be reading Tragedy of Cedain. Hopefully I said that right. The book is The Trials of Ashmount by John Palladino. Going to be reading this on Kindle. Should finish this around April 21st. 540 pages for 140,000 words, and I'm going to guess 4 out of 5. And out of all the books on this list, other than what I'm just about to say next, is I don't know anything about this book, other than John Palladino wrote it. John is a frequent commenter in my Discord. I see him all the time on joining other people's YouTube channels. Seems like a cool guy. The basic stuff that I've heard about the book seems fun, and I've had it recommended to me by several people, and that's the real reason I'm reading it. Is people said, like, look, if you like kind of darker fantasy books and you're down to read like an indie book, which I am, then you gotta check this one out. He seems cool. I need to do that thing, and I always hate reviewing books from people that I kind of know and communicate with, because I'm never gonna shy away from giving my really honest opinions on this. And I told John this, is I'm like, look, if I hate this book, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna ease up on it. So, but I will hate to have to do that. So hopefully this book rocks, and I can say really positive things. But if not, then I will just tell you exactly what I think, as always. Then I'm going to be reading another book I know literally nothing about, and this is The Divine Cities. City of Stairs is the book name, by Robert Jackson Bennett, an author that I've wanted to read for a long time. I'm going to be doing this on audiobook. Should finish this around April 23rd. This is 464 pages at 116,000 words. And I'm predicting a 3 out of 5. Even though I've wanted to read this guy for a while, urban fantasies are not something that usually works for me. Sometimes it does. I mean, the 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐿 is an urban fantasy at its core, and I absolutely adore that book and that series as a whole. There are, exceptions to this. I think Mistborn is kind of like an urban fantasy too, and I love Mistborn, so we'll see. I mean, I've heard some good things about this from other booktubers, but I've intentionally kept myself very out of the loop on what's going on, because that's how I like to read my series. And the last book that I'm going to be reading is probably the one I'm most hyped on reading, and this is the second book from the Dandelion Dynasty, Wall of Storms by Ken Liu, or is it Liu? I'm not sure. I should find that out next time before I do a video. Reading this one on Kindle. Should finish this up near the end of the month on April 29th. This is a big boy. This is 880 pages at 272,000 words. The second longest book that I'm going to be reading this month. And I'm predicting 5 out of 5. Why 5 out of 5? Because the first book that I read in the Dandelion Dynasty is what I claim is my second favorite book that I've ever read. And I love it to death. Now I'm worried here though, because I hear a lot of people say like, oh, if you don't like the first one, the second one really changes its style and you're going to love that one. Well, I love the first one, so am I going to say the opposite? Am I going to say like things went down? Hopefully I'm going to say things got better, or stayed the same, or even a little bit worse, and that would be wonderful because of how much I love that first book. So the average pages I will be reading this month is 438. This is behind my all-time average of 527. This correlates to the words as well. This is about 126,000 words per book, and my average is 168. So reading some smaller boys this month. My predicted score is 3.90, and my all-time score is 3.93. So let's see, and I'm really curious to see what you think. Please fill out the survey on the links down below to get your thoughts on what I am going to think about all these books. So thank you so much for watching till the end of this video, and as always, happy reading to you.
Thank you so much to my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier patrons, Anna, Ben, Brian, CJ, Donute, Darren, Jamie, Maria, Michael Sugarman, My Book is Lit, Romeo Mike, Ron Reich, Russell, and Sky.